At exactly 0304 hours, somewhere the Iranian west of Tehran, by the dull hum of two General Electric F-118 engines. At 42,000 feet of altitude, traveling at 470 with call sign Phantom 21, cut through the darkness like a 170-ton ghost. Its mission: reach the Karaj missile factory. The pilots had 4 days of planning in their bodies. They knew that Iran's air defense network had been systematically dismantled. Adjusting course now. During the first 72 hours of the campaign, the corridor was clean, intelligence confirmed it. But 130 kilometers ahead, during the first 72 hours of the campaign, the corridor was clean, intelligence confirmed it, but 130 kilometers. Ahead, on a nameless hill in the foothills of Alborz,
a single Chinese-origin UHF band emission, the exact wavelength that the B-2's stealth design cannot
deflect. At that moment, the pilots of Phantom 21 didn't know it yet, but the board had just changed completely, and someone in Tehran believed they had activated the lethal strike of the century. They were about to discover that finding. The B-2 was the easy part. For weeks, Iran had been firing ballistic missiles against US bases in Iraq and Syria.
Not in big waves, but in a calculated trickle. Enough to keep the pressure without crossing the threshold that
justified a devastating response. Gray zone in its most classic form. Washington read the strategic calculus correctly.
While the Karaj factory remained operational, the trickle would never stop. Karaj was not just an installation.
It was the link that joined the airframes of the Shahab 3 with their guidance systems. The place where an Iranian missile became a real threat. Destroying Karaj was not vengeance, it was strategic surgery. But Tehran had also been preparing its own move. 6 months
ago, through channels that no Iranian official would admit publicly, arrived the YLC-8B, a Chinese UHF band radar.
Designed specifically to detect low observability aircraft. Its technical advantage was brutal in its simplicity. It operates in wavelengths
of meters, not centimeters. At that scale, the B-2's stealth shaping stops working, and the fuselage
of the bomber reflects a detectable signal. Approximate price, $200 million. Purpose, to hunt the most expensive plane in the world. The Iranian operators were right to trust it. On paper, the YLC-8B was the master key that opened the only lock that mattered. Its mission was exactly this: listen before anyone fired. The ALQ-2118 wideband receiver
captured the emission at the exact moment it appeared on screen. UHF band heading 085, correlation YLC-8B.
The weapons systems officer, the WSO, had his hands moving before the automatic classification finished. It wasn't a frequency that the classification finished. It wasn't a frequency that the team trained for every week. It was the frequency everyone hoped to never find. 40 kilometers to the north, the F-22 Raptor, Viper 1, flew completely dark, without any active system transmitting, but its 30 passive antennas of the AN/ALR-94 suite distributed across the wings, fuselage, and tail had already captured the same emission. Triangulating each pulse, they tell you exactly where the intruder is without turning on a single light. 3 pulses gave a heading. 5 pulses gave a coordinate with a precision of 40 meters. Viper 1 transmitted the position via Link 16 without breaking radio silence. Now the problem was exposed in
all at gravity. The YLC-8B operated in short bursts, 3-second sweeps, then silence. The Iranian operators knew
that transmitting continuously was an open invitation to an anti-radiation missile. It was like the neighbor who mows the lawn at 6 a.m. every Saturday. Everyone knows where he is. Sooner or later, someone is going to lose their patience. Except here, losing patience means a supersonic missile in your front yard. But every burst gave the American pilots a snapshot, and in those snapshots, the ghost was beginning to solidify. Contact locked, switching to attack profile. Inside the Growler, the WSO was building his response. Jamming UHF band is not like jamming X-band radars that
the team trains against every week. It's like trying to drown out a marching band walking down your street.
not the
neighbor's TV through the wall. He needed more power. He needed more time. He was working on both things, but the YLC-8B operators could see the American response building on their screens. They had maybe 30 seconds before.
Something with a warhead arrived at their position. They transmitted everything they had. Heading, altitude, approximate speed of.
See a contact heading east toward Tehran. 90 seconds of total transmission, pushing data through buried fiber optic lines to every surviving air defense system in a 200-kilometer radius. Then the senior operator turned off.
Reset the radar, smart decision, approximately 30 seconds late. Venom 11, Magnum AGM-88G heading 085. Magnum is the NATO brevity code.
For one single thing, anti-radiation missile off the rail. It wasn't a warning, it was a status report.
The AGM-88G, the newest variant of the high-speed anti-radiation missile, was already supersonic. It was already climbing. It already
had the direction memorized. The feature that matters. Unlike earlier versions, the G model carries GPS and inertial navigation that remembers exactly where the antenna was transmitting 3 seconds ago. The operator turned off the radar. The missile already had the address. The warhead detonated. The YLC-8B, built specifically to see through the stealth of the B-2, funded with years of Chinese engineering, became scrap metal in the Iranian countryside. China invested years and hundreds of millions of dollars in a system to see through stealth. The Americans turned it into a debris field. In 90 seconds. If you were the commander of the strike package in that moment, would you have continued the mission or aborted? Knowing that the YLC-8B's data had already been transmitted? Option A, continue. The radar was eliminated and the
dot window is now. Option B, abort. The data is already in enemy hands. Comment below.
At 0306 hours and 40 seconds, 14 kilometers south of Karaj, inside a ravine in the foothills of the Alborz, a screen came to life with numbers that the commander of the Bavar 373 battery read in seconds. Heading, altitude, approximate speed. There's a contact heading east at 42,000 feet. The position could be off by kilometers, it didn't matter. He just needed a direction
to look towards. This battery had been dark since the 28th of February, when the crew drove the launcher
into the ravine and extended camouflage nets over the Mirage 4 radar, while the rest of the Iranian air defense
was dismantled one by one over their heads. 4 days listening to a war they couldn't join. 4 days hearing
how every other Bavar battery in western Iran fell silent. The commander had made a single decision that kept them alive. He would not transmit until he had a target worth his battery. Now he had it. In front of him. He had 60 seconds to turn on the radar, find the target, and fire before an anti-radiation missile found his position. A single chance, a single exchange. He reached for the power switch. Radar Mirage 4, full power. Search sector focused on the heading transmitted by the YLC-8B. What the commander didn't know, the AGM-88G that had eliminated the YLC-8B had already been replaced on the rail of Venom 11. The Growler was ready. Inside Phantom 21, the defensive management system captured the new emission the instant it appeared. A red diamond bloomed on the threat screen of the mission commander, and a warning tone filled Loth headsets. There are only 21 bombers.
2 to B-2s in the world. Unit cost, $200 million. The most expensive combat aircraft ever built. And a
fire control radar in the Iranian highlands had just found it. New threat, SAM Bavar 373, radar Mirage 4.
Active, preparing to fire. The mission commander understood exactly what had happened. Destroying the YLC-8B.
Had not stopped the threat. It had unleashed it. The 90 seconds of transmission from the Chinese radar sent by buried fiber optic
had reached the only battery that survived, because it had the discipline.
In seconds, turning the ALQ-249 next-generation jammer towards the frequency band of the Mirage 4. The problem? The
Mirage 4 operated in completely different frequencies from the YLC-8B. Retuning and calibrating from scratch against an unknown waveform under active fire is like tuning a guitar to a song you've never heard while someone screams in your ear. You'll get there, but not calmly. 5 seconds to
lock the frequency, 3 more to start flooding the band with noise. The ALQ-249 works like this. It locates the exact transmission frequency of the enemy
radar and saturates it with so much amplified noise that the signal processor on the other end cannot find a real return among the interference. A radar sends a pulse
and listens to the echo that bounces back. Jamming floods that same frequency with 10,000 fake echoes for every real one. Imagine your brain trying to identify
a familiar voice in a room where 1,000 people are shouting simultaneously the same message with slight variations. The signal processor knows there's a target out there.
It simply cannot agree with itself on where it is. But the concentrated beam of the Mirage 4 found exactly
what the data promised. A weak return, barely above the noise level, consistent with a low observability aircraft at high altitude. Heading east. It wasn't a clean track, but it was enough to begin to refine a firing solution. With each passing sweep, the solution crossed the minimum threshold.
Venom 11, Magnum, 2nd AGM-88G, heading 175.
The missile left the rail and accelerated toward the Babar battery.
60 seconds until impact. An eternity when someone has a fire control radar pointing at your bomber. The Iranian commander fired anyway.
The Sayyad 4 left the launcher with the solid motor pushing it through the sound barrier in seconds. 20 feet of Iranian interceptor.
Reported range of 300 kilometers, with an active radar seeker in the nose that at this moment remained cold. During the mid-course phase, the missile didn't use its own sensors.
It rode the illumination energy of the Mirage 4 like a mirror follows a flashlight beam. Destroy the flashlight, and the missile is blind.
3 seconds later, the AGM-88G impacted the Mirage 4 radar vehicle. The battery that had survived 4 days in silence ceased to exist. 4 days of patience, a single exchange, chose the wrong 60 seconds. But the Sayyad 4 was already in flight, climbing over the Iranian desert, navigating by inertia towards where the target had been 3 seconds ago. With the Mirage 4 destroyed, the missile flew blind in mid-course, dead inside, but still lethal if the active seeker woke up at the right moment. The Sayyad 4 is in the air, the seeker is still cold. Do you think the B-2 can survive the next 60 seconds?
And complete the mission? If you believe in American technological superiority, comment a 1 below. The Sayyad 4 was climbing from the south, navigating by inertia, cold seeker, calculated destination.
The mid-course solution had been built on data that the ALQ-249 had been actively degrading, a basket of uncertainty of 2 miles instead of a clean track. But nobody in Phantom 21 knew exactly when the active seeker would wake up. It could be at 20 miles, it could be at 10.
And when it did, it scanned X-band, precisely the frequency range for which the B-2 was optimized.
With the bomb bay doors closed, the Spirit's radar cross-section was the size of a marble for any X-band seeker. The problem? The doors needed to open. 60 seconds until the launch window. The pilot disconnected the autopilot with the calm that comes from 100 simulated repetitions of this exact nightmare. Handling a 170-ton flying wing in an evasive maneuver, and at 42,000 feet is not something you hand over to the computer. It's like leaving cruise control to handle a deer that jumps onto the highway. Some things need human hands on the controls. The mission commander confirmed GPS acquisition on the 16 weapons. 30 seconds. The aim points distributed across the Karaj complex, the assembly hangar where the airframes of the
Shahab 3 were joined with their guidance packages, the clean room where the seekers received final calibration, the engine installation,
where the propellant met the rocket casing. Infrastructure that Iran had built over decades, impossible to replace with a purchase order. Doors open. The rotary launchers began to spin, and the bomb bay doors opened wide. In that instant, the marble became a barn door, every exposed surface creating corner reflectors that returned radar energy directly toward any transmitter looking in its direction.
The Sayyad 4 was 15 miles away, closing at Mach 3.5. The active seeker turned on.
What the missile's signal processor didn't know, Venom 11 had been waiting 30 seconds for exactly that frequency. The ALQ-249 captured the emission the instant it appeared. The WSO took the jammer to maximum power and saturated the seeker's X-band with noise before the processor completed its first sweep.
The Iranian processor searched for a consistent return in a spectrum full of electronic garbage. It found nothing it could hold on to.
The pilot maintained course, altitude, speed. Hands locked on the controls, eyes fixed on the instruments. Every instinct screaming, "Brake left!" While the rational half of his brain held the line with iron discipline. The female Hispanic mission commander felt every
1, 2, 4, 8, 16. 16 GBU-31 JDAM bomb.
a circular error of less than 30 feet. $25,000 per tail to turn an unguided bomb into a weapon that lands. Less than 2 car lengths from a coordinate anywhere on the planet. Doors closed. The barn door became a marble again in less than a second. The Sayyad 4 had the active seeker for less than 10 seconds. During each of them, the ALQ-249 had owned the frequency. No return, no lock. Clean failure. Iran's most patient battery commander had traded his only surviving battery for a missile that ended up arguing with electronic static. Phantom 21 to the west. 16 JDAMs were seconds from impact. The first 3 bombs hit the eastern assembly hangar at terminal velocity. The overpressure shattered the building from the inside. 20-ton cranes designed to lower Shahab 3 airframes onto precision templates were torn from their rails.
The second salvo collapsed the clean rooms, where the seekers received final calibration in positive pressure environments.
From the American side, 0 casualties, 0 aircraft lost, 1 additional AGM-88G expended. The strategic lesson is brutal in its clarity.
A system of systems. Raptor listening passively, Growler suppressing actively, B-2 executing with precision. It cannot be defeated by attacking a single node. Iran eliminated the YLC-8B and believed it had activated its best move. It only activated the next level of the American kill chain. The pride of Iranian air defense was shattered, not by a superior weapon, but by a superior architecture. China invested years in a master key.
The Americans built a different lock for every door. What system do you think was the decisive factor?
The F-22 identifying passively the YLC-8B? The ALQ-249 of the Growler protecting the B-2 in the final seconds?
Or the discipline of the Phantom 21 crew maintaining course under fire? Let us know in the comments if this analysis was valuable.
Give us a like and subscribe. Each notification is one more mission you don't miss.
The sensors are active. The board is ready. We'll see you on the next deck.
The true strength was not in a single platform, but in the philosophy of interconnectivity. While the master key approach relies on one tool,
The systems approach builds resilience. You can remove a node, you can jam a frequency, but the architecture remains intact. This is the architecture of victory. China invested in the past, while the Americans built the future of the kill chain. A lesson learned. In 90 seconds, the Karaj complex is silent. The Shahab 3 program is set back by years. The price of underestimating the architecture is total. Strategy is a game of layers. The board is never stagnant. Keep your sensors active, and never lose sight of the full picture.
The egress is clean. The tactical web holds as the package moves back into neutral airspace. It is the end of a mission.
For the crew of Phantom 21, the discipline never wavers. Eyes on the horizon, sensors still active, even as the target burns miles behind them. Every pulse captured, every coordinate stored. The architecture has proven its worth. But in this game, the next challenge is always on the horizon. If you found this analysis valuable, let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for the next mission.